Roll dice, be nice, and stay tuned. This is the Live to Die podcast.
Hi, folks. It's a year later. It's amazing how much you've all stuck with us.
A whole year.
Although, actually, this is a little bit of time travel. We're recording this in 2024. This is airing in 2025 for the first time.
Ooh.
Hope the future's nice. I hope that's not, like, damning us. I kind of hinted at this at the end of the last episode. We'll keep this kind of short because this episode's going to be a bit of a doozy. Do you have a favorite time skip in a story? Could be between sequels or something else. I feel like a time jump is one of my favorite narrative bits. You got one?
Yep.
Ryan, you're nodding. What's your favorite time skip in a story?
Impossible Landscapes.
That's a good one.
Oh, shit. That's a really good
Yeah.
one. We've talked about it a lot. Great
Lots
Delta
and
Green
lots.
story.
I won't get into it too much because it's so good.
Okay. Anyone else? Time jumps in stories that you like?
I thought that the time jumps that they did in House of the Dragon were cool
That's the one I was going to do, yeah.
because they like recast everybody. They didn't really like go into it like it's been 20 years.
Yeah.
But it was just, and it's like, there's this whole story of the Targaryens and it was just a good way to like, let's move this along.
Mm-hmm.
So they just like time jumped a couple times throughout the seasons and
Yeah.
it was kind of cool.
Suddenly there's like characters that are there and it's almost like you should know who they are, but you have no idea.
Yeah.
So you have
Sure.
to like let it explain very
Yeah.
quickly.
You have to get your wife to introduce herself and
Right.
see what their names are.
So awesome. Anyone else? Time jumps in fiction that they like? I've got a couple that I'm going to name check.
There's a really fun movie that all but one of us has seen, Interstellar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually
Yeah.
thought of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen time jumps in Back to the Future. How much different could they be?
It's fair.
I guess you have to watch the movie.
Yeah.
Time jumps in stories from anyone else?
Nothing
Yeah, I'm
comes to
blanking right now.
mind. Yeah.
From book to book, and some of the later books gets more. The Expanse series
Oh, yeah.
does time
very
jumps really, really well. I think it's honestly one of those series that's so good because it's a wonderful series in the overall stories it tells, but because each book is sort of an individual story, they sometimes tend to like, I think at one point there's a 15, 20-year jump between two of the books in The Expanse, and that's handled really well. A series I talk about a lot, or at least I think I've talked about some because it's one that holds a special place in my heart because I read it when I was young, is the Chronicles of Amber.
Mm.
And it's a 10-book series that's sort of largely split into two 5-book cycles. And between the first 5 books and the second 5 books is I want to say it's like a 10, 15-year gap as you sort of tell the story of the next generation. And it's one of these, I love a time jump because it lets you re-meet people you've met before, but enough's changed where it's meeting them again for the first time. So, big fan of a time jump. I haven't seen it because it's 1,000 fucking episodes, but I guess there's also a pretty major time jump in One Piece. You know, if you feel like watching 900 episodes of a fucking anime, maybe that's what your kid's been
Maybe
locked
no one's
in.
watching
Yeah.
Crunchyroll.
Just
Yeah.
watch the live action version.
The live action is actually staggeringly good.
So I have never watched the original anime. I've only watched the live action version, and I loved it. It was delightful.
Nice.
I have a couple of friends that I play Magic with, my local game store, shout out to them, who don't watch One Piece but have read, they are caught up on the manga, which is it's a dedication.
Yeah.
But they both watch the live action. They're like, no, it's actually really fun. They've changed some stuff, but it feels really true to like where the arcs of the characters in the comics go. And I'm like, all right, that's pretty fucking dope. So we'll keep that really short. That's a nice tight 4-minute intro. Feel like enough bullshit for everyone?
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
Well, it's time for us to do a time jump because I think where we're at, it's gonna be a little homework for all of us. We're gonna have to do some fucking kingdom turns, which, yeah, we need to do that. Let me go ahead and put on a little bit of music here. But let's talk, right? Let's talk about
Talking.
what happens in the year. So here's what I'd like to do. You also are all level 6, but I know that potentially how you hit level 6 may be a factor of what's happened and what your character does with this year. So I think what I'd like to talk about is to kind of go around and have each of you talk about what your character would have done or accomplished or how they would have changed, what's happened for their life in the year. And then that's also, I think, a wonderful opportunity to sort of popcorn around. If that inspires something that would have affected someone else's life, this is I love Kingmaker because it opens up a lot of narrative space that isn't so tightly defined by mechanical sequences. And so I really want to hear from all of you what has happened to your character, how have they grown and changed in a year. And I think we might even have Jane talking about what Ari has been up to in the last year. So she'll kind of jump in after all of you've gone and share that.
Oh, man.
Who wants to start with what they know? And like, you don't have to give it all in one go. This is like, we'll kind of popcorn this around a little bit and talk about what's happened in this.
Did Arthur quit?
Yeah, you can talk this out.
He did not. I think he wanted to in the meeting, even after the Baron said, "We need you." I think it took about a week of convincing.
I think at some point when I realize it's not working, I would command you to stay. And it's like,
Yeah,
This is your
and
duty.
he would follow that.
yeah, I'm the Baron and I'm making you stay.
And I think as part of that, he's kind of like, well, if I'm going to stay, I have to completely retool the way I'm approaching things because these people need me to protect them.
Training montage.
So he
Oh, damn.
completely retrains
Oh.
everything.
That's so.
But are you not even a champion anymore?
He is a champion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
It's like,
he's
Jesus,
still,
Trent.
still a liberator. But he's changing his free archetype
Mm.
to Dread Marshal
Yeah.
What?
or to Marshal.
Okay.
Like, that
Um,
sounds intense.
So good.
Marshall's sick.
And he now has attack of opportunities.
Yes.
Reactive strike.
Oh, yeah.
It's still called attack of opportunity in the feat list, I guess.
Yeah, because it would have been pre-master.
Anyway.
Remaster?
That's what I call stuff.
I love it.
I like
Thank
that. That's
you.
cool.
You get a patch.
He has Titan Wrestler now as well.
Oh,
But
yes.
he is also changing from a shield ally to a blade ally.
Which
Nice.
normally isn't allowed, but Trent and I have talked about it with like such a major shift in character place and like some of the life events and a year of downtime to
Yeah.
retrain.
And I think it's generally like, you know what? I'm no longer going to be sitting back and waiting for these attacks. I'm going to be the one attacking.
You're not a last wall knight anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he now has a +1 disrupting, striking, flaming, cold iron bastard sword.
Jesus.
Whoa.
Because of all the awesome
I
feats that
forgot
come with
about that.
a blade ally. And I think what I'm going to have him do, because I haven't built this in quite yet, he is done with Sorrow's sword now that his mom has been avenged.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just going to be a straight up follower of Ragathiel.
Ooh, okay. Leaving the pantheon, going for a specific deity.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, so here's what I put some counters up because I think this is going to be a little fun to kind of challenge some of you. So what I'm looking for is 3 things. It can be totally more than that. So I've heard for you, you've changed your religion a
Yeah.
little bit. So that's Arthur's down to 2. This is how I want to just make it a little, I want to gamify it just a touch because it's a board game. Well, role-playing game. Who else has got something that's happened to them in the last year? How have your lives changed?
Nikolai got married.
Oh,
Oh.
I was not invited.
Everybody's invited.
To Knock Knock. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting choice.
Yeah. You know, after he came out of his coma, he was different. No, he gets
Good.
married, and it's like, you know, a cute little like ceremony in the woods,
Mhm.
and everybody's there. Even a little bit bigger owlbear and
Sure.
her wolf.
Is there a giant feast?
Of course. Yeah, there's
Paid
a
for
giant
by the
feast.
town or?
Lucky he was working it out.
Yeah.
That's on him.
You don't want to know.
He's the one that pays for the royal weddings, not me.
Sure.
Yeah, and
I asked the
so
Lannisters for a loan.
you see Nikolai moving in with Briella. And let's see what else. Oh, Nikolai has a new bow, and it's fucking sick looking.
Yes, it is.
It is a duskwood bow.
Oh, is this made from the Club of Hargulka?
Yep.
I have one too, right?
Yeah, there was enough material
Yep.
to make both of you
Yeah.
weapons out of that.
And One last thing, and I think we talked about it separately,
Yeah.
but Nikolai used like the
Yes.
scrap pieces of this duskwood, and he made like diplomat badges. And so everybody has like this, whether it's their insignia or whether like in the Game of Thrones, the hands is the hand.
Yeah.
Like however we want to make it look, he gives everybody like a diplomat badge that
like a badge of
signifies-
office.
A badge
Yeah.
of office, kind of, yeah.
Okay.
And they're all made out of that same duskwood material. I'll stop for now.
Yeah,
Come
that's
back to
fine.
me.
Yeah, we can kind of popcorn around. I'll take one. Knock Knock reawakens in the year, but a lot of his physical mobility is hugely impacted.
Come on.
He's training to get it back, but it's very slow.
So
and
sad.
all the doctors, like you would know that like he had some like spinal injury, and so he's trying to like strengthen it back enough where he can regain full
I'm
mobility.
picturing
Damn.
Knock Knock like in physical therapy trying to learn to
Aw.
walk again. It's
Yeah.
so sad.
But he is like intensely determined, and so
Nice.
like those of you who've been around have seen him like doing far more than anyone else expected. And I think to some extent in that time, his view of heroism is changing a little bit. He no longer wants to be Lamashtu's chosen. He's not sure what he wants to be, but he's kind of found a home in this town that feels a little different for him.
I'll say for Laku, she's coming here to try to investigate the mosquito witch, and running into Oscar, she's obviously going to go with him and try to figure out because originally it didn't seem like the mosquito witch was real, but maybe, but since being sort of haunted by it, she wants to figure out what's going on here. Why am I being called back 30 years later? But she will eventually kind of like have to go back to her farm and help out there, make
Mhm.
sure cider sales are going well. Her husband and son are running it, but she obviously wants to go spend back time with her family. But they all know she loves adventuring, and it's not weird that now that all of her birds have mostly left the nest, she's
Aw.
she's kind of going back and forth
Adorable.
between.
Do you shove him out the door?
No, I mean, you had to teach him to
Yeah.
fly a little bit,
Yeah.
so you push him out once or twice. Or
Let's
a
all
couple
go to the
times.
rooftop, kids.
And you typically don't get a lot of PTO your first year.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Would you have taken the time to go meet Elga?
That's what Oscar would show you.
Yeah.
Oscar doesn't want to talk to her, but he walks until you can see Elga's hut, and he's like,
Yeah,
there
you
she
go,
is.
You go ahead.
I mean, so Laku one of her defining features is like she's learned to not take things on alone. And so if Oscar won't go with her
Mhm.
to talk to Elga, she's going to go back to town, back to someone, and just be like, she needs backup. She knows she's not equipped to try to like one-on-one anybody.
Oscar
then-
doesn't like the pumpkin thing. It fucks him up.
Yeah, the
Pumpkin?
scarecrow.
The scarecrow pumpkin.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
then maybe
I would 100% go with you if you wanted to go
Yeah.
see Elga.
Yeah.
So the two of you would have gone to visit Elga. I'm actually going to put a little note here. I'm going to kind of do this traveler style where the two of you had this together. And so you both kind of creating something together in this. I'm going to hand out patches to both of you for sort of connecting these moments.
Sweet.
And I think it would have been an interesting one. She looks familiar but different. It's like Elga has only aged like a quarter of the amount she should have
That's so
since you met her.
weird.
But her skin is now also deep green, and she starts telling you about her relationship, as she describes it, with the mosquito witch, that she's never met it, but it speaks to her in her dreams. And seeing you kind of brings it all back.
Mhm.
She's cagey about it. So it's sort of the beginning of some connection between you two as she shares with you. But she's basically kind of goes on to tell you, and you kind of are able to piece together, that there are some in the river kingdoms that see the mosquito witch as, like, there are witches who have the mosquito witch as their patron. And she's not necessarily seen as benevolent or malevolent. Is that the word?
Malevolent.
Malevolent,
Mhm.
thanks. But she's sometimes seen as one who has some abilities of prophecy and some almost tangential connections around like Pharasma's portfolio, life, death, prophecy. And so there is some odd stuff there. So you're not sure what's going on, but Elga kind of starts to share with you these stories of spells, rituals she's learned in dreams, as she claims, from the Mosquito Witch. And seeing your doll, like, she's fascinated by it.
Mm. She would, I mean, it seems like Elga perhaps is, I'm sure, still a bit abrasive, but like the fact that she believes in the Mosquito Witch gives Laku a little bit of like, told you so. I know there were cryptids and nobody believes me. And so she definitely would want to, after going to meet Elga, she would feel a little bit more comfortable, maybe going back to see her, like ask her more about like, hey, I remember like you had that dog Peaches. Do you ever have like more dogs? Like trying to maybe have a friendship.
Her voice is like kind of odd, and like I said, her body seems to have undergone some weird physiological changes, and she's essentially over time you're able to piece together that the scarecrow in the front yard is sort of the soul of Peaches after Peaches died. Not necessarily the soul, but like sort of a continuation of consciousness.
Yeah, I think creepy as it is, Laku is just kind of like loves that. She's had treasured pets before, and so she would like can she talk to the scarecrow, interact with it?
Somewhat. It doesn't seem to have been a perfect process. What I'll say is sort of like planting a seed, if I will. You do start to get, because if you remember, Elga was looking for someone.
Right.
And she seems odd when she talks about it. Like she keeps not referring to them in the past tense occasionally, and there's some oddities there to that. We'll kind of close that little chapter for now.
Okay.
Anyone else haven't heard yet from Lucky or Jonas about your gap year?
Wait, can I say one last thing?
Oh yeah, of course.
So one of the things that I think of for Laku is talking about the Mosquito Witch, being haunted by the Mosquito Witch. She's become a little bit paranoid and perhaps a little bit prepper, kind of scared, like very like working from a place of a lot of fear. And so she took the class feat predictive purchase, which is one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
You want to?
There's a room for that.
So with predictive purchase, you have just the thing for the situation. You gain the prescient planner and prescient consumable feats. And so with prescient planner, you can just pull stuff out of your backpack that you think you would have. And as long as it's like a common item and its bulk must be low enough that carrying it wouldn't have made you encumbered. And prescient planner is the same thing, except it's like it can be like a scroll or a potion.
Wow.
So
that's cool.
I'm going to try to use this as much as possible.
Yeah, and then like
that's
you can use that so many times per visit to town, and then like when you revisit a community, basically it recharges.
With the planner thing, you can only use it once since the last time you were able to purchase goods, and so then you have to go back and purchase goods. But I think that is super cool.
It reminds me a lot of, for anyone who's played Blades in the Dark, it's very similar to how Blades in the Dark handles items.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I have a few players and other Pathfinder games that love that feat because they're like, I don't want to deal with all the shopping, but it'd be nice to have that one item.
Right.
And I love that there's a mechanical feat for that.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, like I think before with our past adventure, she like wanted a compass and didn't have a compass, and I was like, that's so stupid. Like she would have a compass. So yeah, I'm excited to have it just for that reason of just like, oh, I really need some like rope, or I really would love like a mirror, like or a scroll of jump.
Scroll of jump. Always carry your scroll of jump. Don't forget your towel.
Don't leave home without it.
Yeah, also wonderful way to start like seeding in your level up to the year that's been passing. Jonas or Lucky?
I think I've actually been spending a lot of time with Lucky, just talking about infrastructure and expansion, and probably working with Arthur as well on ways to mitigate more or less anything. When we got back after the Albera attack, I felt really at a loss of like what to do and how I could be useful. And so I think I've been spending a lot of time and kind of learning, being half elf and probably with a tilt towards the more elven blood, and being alive a long time, I've had a lot of privilege to be able to focus on just one thing at a time.
Mhm.
And so I am looking to be able to just like have my eyes in more spots than one, as it were, both in the protection of our settlement, protection of my allies underground or wherever we are. So I took the archaeologist class feat trap finder.
Oh shit,
Nice.
Oh,
that's
cool.
cool.
Yeah. So, and this is a way that I've been always kind of pushing with Jonas. But while during exploration activities, I can do more than just constantly be looking for traps. The check for traps always kind of comes for free. So now I can be
Nice.
kind of scouting, or I can be detecting magic and stuff. So I can kind
That's
of
cool.
have more, more stuff and space.
That's
and,
awesome.
Yeah, I dig it.
All right. What about you, Lucky?
Yeah, Lucky's had a lot going on.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Lucky spent a lot of time right after we got back, kind of overseeing repairs, but then I think additionally he is making some contacts, gathering some informants. I don't want to say that he's like building a thieves guild, but essentially he's like creating a little bit of a personal underground so that like information flowing into and out of the city.
Your little
There-
spiders.
Yes, exactly. Something like that.
The little kitty cats.
He
Sure.
also
His kittens.
he's been spending time out at Elga's.
Mm-hmm.
He's also been spending time out with Akandayo,
Sure.
retraining.
Ooh.
So I was summoner archetype, and it just didn't have the utilization that I was hoping over time.
Mhm.
So he retrained to scout archetype.
Oh, cool.
Nice. Scout
that's
is dope.
fucking cool.
Scout's really cool.
Yeah. So he did that, and then he's been spending some time. Actually, he probably was away for like maybe 4 to 6 months
Yeah.
until this, like coming up on this new year or into the new year.
Yeah.
Came back for Nikolai's wedding.
Out at
Yeah,
Elga's?
maybe
He was
or-
best man.
nice.
No, back
Lucky's best man.
in Ravoy.
You know that,
Oh.
right? You're best man.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
You had a whole
He's
speech
like
to
the
give.
bestie.
Wow.
What
Damn.
month
Yeah.
was the wedding?
Give the toast right now.
Oh yeah. What month was the wedding?
Let's call
Oh, yeah,
it
yeah.
summer wedding.
Okay. Sure.
So we'll
Arthur
do
was
it in-
Flower
Mhm.
Man.
You
Yeah,
sure you
I
don't
like
wanna
it.
do You sure you don't want to do it in Farch?
I'll find some Erasmus
Hey,
holiday.
what a
and do it
beautiful Farch wedding.
Oh, July is Erastus.
then. So
What
we
a
got married in
beautiful
July.
wedding. What a
year-
beautiful wedding, said the
Said the general to the
Scout.
Baron.
Hobgoblins.
So a lot going on, but
All
he's
right.
been making connections, moving and shaking. Probably like spending some time with Jonas, but the rest of you probably don't see him a ton. Except
All
for
right.
Akandayo.
I imagine if you're going over to I've just forgotten her name.
Elga.
Elga's. If you're going over to Elga's and you're like seating spies, like I feel like Laku's fit right into that.
Okay.
So I don't know. We don't have like a ton of crossover yet, but I could
Sure.
imagine there might be a little bit there.
Yeah, they've probably been around. Like we've probably run into each other over there.
Yeah.
And I probably haven't been very forthcoming with what's been going on. But he doesn't like
maybe she's like,
shun you.
I talk with people too.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's good.
Although one of the, I think, faults, but also lovely things about Laku that I think even though she is very afraid now, she's always been very trusting. And so maybe that kind of makes you dislike her is that she just kind of trusts everybody. Just
That's adorable.
I
as
think
fault.
it's good. I mean, actually, he might like that about you. He would never be that way. but
Yeah.
He probably sees that as a positive for someone who might be gathering information. And also, he's a bit of a conspiracy theorist, I think.
Yeah. Let's
So
go.
They may be a little bit in
go.
cahoots
That's
when it comes
awesome.
to that sort of thing. So
That's funny.
I'm like giant owl bear.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows what's out there?
Exactly.
Time passes south of you. Things have stayed chaotic in odd ways. They say that the nation of Galt is still not recovered from the events 2 or 3 years prior. But there are some who are saying that there is hope for the future. They say that they can almost hear the horns of freedom.
Been waiting for so long.
Another really important thing has happened during this time. I kind of wanted, like behind the GM screen, I kind of wanted to use this time to also catch up to a lot of the cool Paizo products that were being released.
Oh, wow.
So in this time, Gorham has died. The War of the Immortal stuff has hit. The God's Reign prophecies were coming out. And there is a shakeup among the immortals as the Pantheon shifts. I think Erasni has shifted up into a more major role. But basically, we're kind of trying to catch up with as much as we can from the current Paizo stuff so we can take advantage of some of the just genuinely really cool things that they're doing with the world and not just have to play entirely in a time capsule.
Can you tell us generally who Gorham was?
The god of war. Honestly, Jason is far more up to date on the God's Reign prophecies than I am, but I'm not going to get into them because the truth is that mortals only know so much other than a god has died.
Yeah.
Especially at your levels. Like, you're level 6 now, which is cool, but you're not like, well,
My buddy, Gorham.
Yeah, he's no longer coming down for beers.
Can I make that a Rastal story, like a dream that he had?
Sure.
Yeah. So like the Rastal God's Reign prophecy story, not just because Rastal was fucking sick, and that was like a dream that he had, and then maybe after that, we feel something weird, like there's something missing.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's Gorham was part of the Sorrow's Sword Pantheon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's some shakeup there. A lot of things are going on.
Is the death of Gorham like the fall of Erodin, where like people can't be clerics of
Kinda,
Gorham
yeah.
anymore?
Correct.
Wow.
It's less substantial because Aradin was the god of humanity and
he
a
like
living-
disappeared.
Yeah, and he was also a living god that had, I think it was the nation of Taldor. Like,
Yeah.
because Taldor used to be basically the majority of Avestan, all of like the European analog, all of what is now Cheliax and Galt and, so many other places were all once that nation. So it'd be like if the nation's power supply, government infrastructure, communications infrastructure, and information infrastructure collapsed in a single moment. Whereas, while Gorham was worshipped by many, he wasn't so intrinsically tied to like cultural infrastructure. His death is a major shakeup for worshippers, 100%. However, it doesn't mean like the collapse of a major society. So it's less impactful in that sense. However, if you get into reading the Paizo books about it, what happened there is fucking wild.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's even a novel. I think they have a more recent Pathfinder novel that's tied to the God's Reign prophecies that are out. But check out the Paizo stuff. It's great. And there's
There's a room for that.
So
I do have a question because a year has passed.
mhm.
At one point, Arthur asked Jonas to
Mhm.
look into the death of his father.
Yeah.
Because he had sort of heard weird information pieces here and there because his mom didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Did he ever get any information?
Jonas, your sources come back weird. I think you're asking everyone you know, calling in
Mhm.
older weird, especially now that you're probably like closer with Arthur and it's not just like a dude you met, but like
Right.
an actual friend. And you start to, all you can get back, and imagine it's sort of like whispers in the dark.
Whoa.
Bilbo, Shia, like sort of stuff, right? Back
Well, that would lead them here.
Well done. It's sort of like that, but all you're hearing is something about the collection of a debt. And that's all you're getting back is
No word on who's collecting the debt or who's attempting to collect the debt.
First World.
It doesn't say spam likely on the.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, you just hear something. It's somehow either through an agent of or from the First World, and something about the collection of a debt or a promise.
From First World.
The First World.
Mhm. No, I know what you're talking about.
All right. All right. We've got a couple more things. We'll kind of bounce around. Other things that you've done in the last year.
I think you see Nikolai training a lot more with the hunting group,
Sure.
and you notice that all of a sudden he's quite stealthy,
Ooh.
Ooh.
and he's running around with his owlbear, like running through the woods, and it's like running next to him. Little
Oh,
montages.
the tongue just like
Aw.
lolling out of the mouth.
And his spells are going to reach a little bit farther than they used to.
Oh, nice.
I think in that time, on like some of these little flashes, you're seeing Knock Knock come out. Like occasionally, you're seeing like him at the range next to you occasionally. He's quieter than he used to be.
I might be even giving him tips too, like hold your chest up more, pull your shoulder blades together.
Mhm.
Yeah, put your elbows up.
All right. Anyone else?
Knock Knock's my backup character.
I'm not
so cool.
sure, where things will end up landing with all the kingdom turns,
Mhm.
but I think for sure Arthur is trying to put together a standing army in case we need it.
So I imagine the
Mhm.
hobgoblins that you
For
brought
sure.
back. Like, there was only like 6 or 8 of them, but like they're an early squad.
Right.
Those 2 kobolds. I mean, they saw you slay a drake and
Right.
still remember that. And I think them plus Meekmech, there is like a weird little, like like anytime any like regions that have sort of some amount of like diaspora culture, there's sort of like, even if it's not directly, there's some bonding of like similarities in origin.
Yeah.
And I think there is, like, as the town grows, there is like a little kobold quarter that like is kind of taking off and has quite a bit of like, not nationalism pride, but like
Yeah,
pride
yeah.
in the achievements of what the kobolds have done for Shatter, especially knowing that like Shattershield is named after a kobold.
They have like a really good shop where they offer some kobold foods.
But I think like even with that, like there are some though who like hear of Shattershield as a place where kobolds can be a part of something. So I feel like you are also getting, and it's not just from like the soot scales, like there are some who are like not quite a pilgrimage, but are making this journey to train with these kobolds. And like, remember that one kobold who just blew back the knee out of the Troll
Oh,
King?
yeah.
Like he's got a whole group that he's drilling with and training. I feel like he's maybe regularly meeting with you to talk about like regimens and stuff. And he's quickly like, he looks up to you a lot, but is standing out as someone who's doing well. And Meekmech has distinguished himself quite a bit in working with Ekandayu and others, and has sort of been quite an advocate between the Soot Scales and Shattershield. As I'm sure during that time, the kingdom will probably expand to include the Soot Scales as a smaller settlement.
Yeah. So I'm going to have a hobgoblin deputy.
Or a kobold if Meekmech, but
Yeah.
you've got a couple standouts. You've got 2 kobolds and probably one of the hobgoblins that have all like are early standouts. Plus, honestly, although he's probably spending more and more time out of town after the death of Floric, but Kristoff, that halfling, is continued in the service and the warden work. Anyone else?
I have a question.
Yeah,
and
go
we
for
can, we can always delete this out if it puts it too much on the spot.
No.
I'm looking at the fourth level skill feat called Settlement Scholastics. This is also archaeologist dedication.
Yeah.
And I imagine Lucky's been gone a lot, and then I've been doing a lot of investigation in the first world. And when you take this feat, this is how I got the lore for Stolen Lands. So I'm curious, GM, in all my digging around and all my discussing with Lucky and all his digging around, is there another settlement that would be beneficial?
Yeah, there's
Or, yeah, go ahead.
there's quite a few locations that can be good settlements as the kingdom expands. We can kind of address that in
Yeah,
kingdom
sure.
turns for
For
sure.
sure.
You've got
Perfect.
a lot of opportunities and places.
Okay, awesome.
You probably also would have had continued beneficial relationships with Varnhold to the east,
Yeah.
who have sort of sent Miegar has like continued to stay in touch, and while probably have never made it back and forth, they've been trading resources with you as their boundaries have grown, and so have yours. I think he wasn't able to actually. I think Miegar would have come for your wedding, Nikolai. Like, come out. I think your family member that we talked about quite a long time ago, even some of your family showed up for the wedding.
My
You would
moms
know
are
who.
definitely there.
Your moms are there. Probably not anyone. Actually, you probably get a couple of more important people from your family hearing that like Aestus is taking off and that they have this potential political end. And it does cause like a weird little bit of tension at the wedding between the southern, like the Brevish, and the northern factions of your family, like trying to suss out who has the influence over Aestus during the wedding.
Does Uncle Gurev come?
I think knowing that the Eldoris are there, he sends like his biggest name
Okay,
person and what, not himself.
cool.
But like,
Because that would be big.
yeah. And I think he doesn't want to set it off, and he knows that he doesn't yet want to start the full pissing match, but like toes the line of the pissing match with the Brevish nobles.
Hell yes.
Oh, sorry, it's Restov as the southern.
Restov, yeah.
Yeah, with the Restive nobles, like just everything close to saying like, hey, this is my family, so maybe it's not that closely allied to you.
Yeah.
So the wedding becomes actually a bit of a minor Brevish like political note. So Miegar's there, a couple of Eldoris show up, like legitimate sword lords are at your wedding.
Is Biff there?
You're not sure who all's there. Tons of the community are there. I think you do also get, what's the fucking guy who runs the general store up north?
Oleg.
Yeah.
Oleg's trading post is probably
Oleg
brought
and
within
Svetlana.
the fold. Yes. They're there. They're very excited.
Oleg's trading post is probably now like a New Jersey freeway mall. Now it's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
There's an ice skating rink inside.
It's, yeah. Yep. Anyone else? Items. Let's kind of bop through the last few things here.
I didn't talk to you about this, so you'll have to
let's
tell
go.
me if
Come
it's
on.
good or not. I think Lucky, after talking to Laku,
Mm-hmm.
would find Oscar
Ooh.
and would basically say, I've heard you've got connections to some shadier folk.
Mm.
I heard about you.
Oh, yeah?
I think I might like you.
Yeah. I think we could get along.
Okay. You start making contacts with Daggermark and the guilds.
I also want to say,
You're the new emissary.
if you know anyone who knows about the Black Tears,
Ooh.
tell them to send someone. Come meet me.
Okay.
You want an actual black tear or you want someone else?
In actual.
Damn.
All right.
Damn.
See what I can do.
All
Oscar
right.
dies.
And Oscar sombers, sombers off
He's
next to
never heard from
Daggermark,
again.
shaking his head like this fucking guy is really asking for that. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Laku. Any other kind of big things? Any other things that happened big for her in that year? Like in terms
I
of
think-
story beats even?
Like minor things is Laku spends a lot of time helping. Like she at her farm with 3 kids, like people
Mhm.
get hurt, so she's been doing like a lot of medicine there, but obviously she's not good on humans and seems to always fail. So she spends some time in the town trying to like brush up on her skills and
Sure.
gets a little bit better as a medic. She gets the treat condition.
Oh, shit. That's
Nice.
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And otherwise, she might try to set up some sort of trade or option to sell her family cider
Okay.
and
Dude,
set that
that's
up
awesome.
between.
You can sell it at the end.
yeah, the inn's kind of taking off as more
Yeah.
people are
And the
coming
trading
in.
post.
Yeah, so she
Yeah.
would absolutely try to start making contacts, maybe like bring her husband out here to
Yeah.
meet everybody and then start chatting, maybe show off his glass work, see if there's like a chance, because he's always been wanting to sell his art. But for the most part, he just makes glass bottles for the cider to be sold in. But he would love to set up like as an artisan, and so figuring out like, okay, we can sell cider, but like, would people like these little like glass, rainbow like light catchers?
Amazing.
None of this
Yes.
bullshit. None
Yeah.
of this bullshit you get from Sandpoint.
Yeah. Have you ever seen this glass? He gets these glass pumpkins. Have you ever seen those?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I think
Like,
there's
that's
actually
awesome.
some folks, it can be dangerous to transport high value goods.
Yeah.
But I think there might be a couple folks around that
I was going to ask you a question.
are interested in some contracts for moving. And so I think that there is sort of, like you do see Short and Scaly, which we talked about, but we just kind of said these are the way that all of us met. Like literally it was Jared and Lauren and Jason and I met playing a group that eventually became Caravan Guards professionally, and Short and Scaly. So we've always talked about how can we kind of do it a much. So I think that Caravan group has ended up here. I think probably they're looking with you, Laku, and they're taking some of the adventurers contracts.
We asked them to kill a turtle like a while ago. Have they done that yet?
Yeah, that's finally
Yeah.
taken care of.
Oh, nice. I've
Um,
never heard of this turtle.
Yeah, you.
I'm just joking.
God damn it. And then Jane, do you want to talk about what Ari's been up to in the last year? Come on, take my
Just
mic.
not mine.
This way people can build off with you.
Well, hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hey.
I feel like it's been a hot minute since we checked in with Ari. But she has been obviously kind of in and out a little bit, gone quite a little bit over the last few months already. And I think as you get like close to the time jump, she starts acting like a little weird. And she's kind of taking care of things around Aestus a lot, but she's not around as much. Like she's kind of like out of her house a little bit more. And maybe even like starting to like look a little different. Like maybe she's like kind of sick or like just kind of off her game and a little bit weird. And this
She's
goes
doing
on.
drugs.
Drugs.
Definitely
It's the drugs
She did that drug bust,
Yeah.
kind of like kept some of the supplies.
Don't smoke. Never get high on your own supply. That's
Yeah.
the rule.
No, so but you know, like if you ask, she's just like, oh, fine, it's fine, you know, whatever. And yeah, just kind of helping with like kingdom operations and stuff like that. After a while, she'll be at like Nikolai's wedding and stuff like that. And then I think she starts to kind of have like some meetings with Nikolai, that doesn't involve maybe everybody else, and then is gone for like 6 or more months. So she's like gone for a while. And I think when we catch back up with the time jump, she's like not back yet. She'll pop in like every once in a while over the period that she's gone to just kind of check in and make sure things are okay, and like, you know, kind of often like sneak off to have a meeting with Nikolai once in a while. But she's just like taking care of some stuff. And if you ask Nikolai, he'll probably say like she's just off doing, you know, some business that needs to be attended to elsewhere.
She has personal business to attend to.
Arthur is writing her letters every month, like, hey, just checking in, making sure you're not dead.
She never responds.
Aw.
Just kidding. She'll respond and she'll be like, Dear Arthur. And then she'll just like tell all the asinine details about, you know, whatever is going on in her day, but nothing actually like
you had
He
to do like the
loves it, actually.
older version of Left on Red and just unwrap his letters and then leave it on the table.
Yeah.
And then Ari will respond and be like, I miss you the most out of everyone. And then we'll send like letters to like Lucky and Jonas and everybody be like, I actually miss you the most out of everyone.
Wow. She's like, no, I really miss you.
And then she'll look at Nikolai and be like, it's really, and then she'll look at Locke and be like, actually, you're the coolest one here. So it's really you.
No, I'm curious. Do you think that with you having been gone for 6 months, they probably would have needed to replace you? Would you have stepped down?
No, I don't think Ari has stepped down. I think in the period that she's kind of taking care of things in Shattershield, she's actually training up kind of like an assistant or an apprentice.
You don't get an intern, okay?
I definitely have an intern. And
It's a paid intern.
No, it's unpaid.
It's paid,
No,
Lucky.
we're definitely unpaid.
no, she definitely has an intern who I think is going to be kind of like the interim person. But I think Ari has every intention of like taking care of some things that may or may not become a factor and then returning to her post.
Is this
But
a sabbatical?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's unpaid.
She's actually in
Definitely
rehab.
unpaid. It's all unpaid.
I feel like in Pathfinder, paid inexperience is actually a legit thing.
Yeah.
That's true.
I will say every time she's back in town, the first thing she does is go to check on progress of the wall frescoes going on at the town hall. And every time, you know, she's kind of like assigning projects to every like big battle and like the thing with the owlbear and stuff like that. It's like they're always getting added. So like the lore of Shattershield is getting kind of like immortalized.
Bad.
What? That is
ass.
badass. What? How did she handle Letitia,
What about like,
her death?
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think she's just
Did you
sort of
drink
like,
more, or were you like, eh?
no, I don't know that she really like had that much of a relationship with Letitia, but I think on like Arthur's behalf, like, and I think Ari probably would have been like, Arthur, like if you ever want to talk about it, and he's like, no, leave me alone. Bye. And she's like trying to like give him a hug, but it's like weird around his armor. And she's like, just like awkwardly
I don't
hugging
like
him.
this.
Yeah.
Which is actually how it is every time I try to hug Trent.
Yeah, get the fuck away from me.
Yeah. And I think just like in general, I think there's so much more going on now in the settlement than there used to be that like, when she's kind of like, I got to be gone for a little while. But I imagine it's probably weird because it probably overlaps with Lucky's absences too.
Yeah,
And so vibes might be a little different.
The wedding was on Erastus IV
Aw,
because the 3rd is Archerfest,
perfect.
which is Erastus's day.
So the
And
Force of
now
the
we
West.
can celebrate the 4th of July in Astus.
Amazing.
Ari also, by the way, definitely like oversaw the booze consumption for Nikolai's wedding.
Yeah.
Did you
Open
make
bar,
this a
man.
thing?
Open bar.
Nope,
She
nope,
set it all
sorry.
up.
Open bar, Lucky.
Can't be open.
with imported cider.
Yeah. Imported cider and like
Signature
maybe Oleg and
cocktail.
Svetlana hooked it up with some stuff too. But
Briella's like yelling at you about the things she wants for her wedding that you're not letting her have.
you get one of those little
It's
kitschy
like
menus that's
her
like
least
the
favorite person in
Nikolai,
town,
the
probably.
Briella,
Yeah.
like signature
Oh,
cocktail.
that's so funny.
All right. So Look, we're limited on mics. We have to do a hot seat. So we've kind of gone around. Are there any final things you've accomplished in the year? Any particular like things you've wanted to have overseen built or progress? And we'll kind of talk about that during Kingdom Turns.
I would say upgrades to like the town hall, like making it just look more formal.
Sure.
Maybe adding, I don't know, glasswork or carved wood or
Mhm.
whatever the fuck we decide to add to the
Yeah.
inside of it to make it look more, I don't know, like we're a flourishing nation.
Assigning a new emissary.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you have any in mind based on who's around?
I
Well,
don't know.
Jonas, do you like your job?
If I was gonna, I've thought about this a lot, and if I was gonna take the emissary job, I would probably recant on my trap finder feat.
Okay.
Since we haven't officially
Yeah.
played into level 6, because that's definitely something that I was looking at.
Yeah.
It's not something that I'm not interested in.
You can lemon law. We can talk as we play
Yeah.
the Kingdom rules.
Yeah, I will definitely look at that.
Now, with your archaeology
What-
stuff, have you been doing anything around like? Because like, there's a lot of really ancient history in
Yeah.
the area. Do you think you would have been doing anything with that?
I mean, I think just to kind of touch on the frescoes and the carvings and all the paintings and murals and everything that we're doing, I think that's one of the things that I would have wanted to touch base with you on about like the settlements classics, like what I've looked into, what have we done to fortify or hold, if that we're interested in, the dwarven.
You could have expanded to there. It would have
Yeah,
been. It would have taken some
definitely.
work to clear, but you could have done
For sure,
that.
like looking to expand to there. So I think that's one of the things that I am very interested in, archaeologist wise and viceroy wise, is really like our infrastructure and how can we learn from the ancient civilizations? What mistakes did they make in kingdoms that came up and then fell? Like how can we really dig in so that we can hold this space?
Do you think there's any amount of like sort of local, medium-sized city museum stuff going on of like
Mhm.
history
100%.
notes?
And I think that's one of the things too, like these little models that I've been keeping in my room
Mhm.
are probably like placeholders for things that I would want to eventually make a bigger show of in there as well, just to kind of touch with that.
And I think that you probably would have maybe started to put together small little history exhibits in parts
Sure.
of town hall
Mhm.
or things
Yeah.
like that.
I
Yeah.
think we would offer Laku a position if she wants it. Like the more you come throughout the year, it's like, we are looking to replace some of our vacant positions, and if you want you and your family to move here,
Mm.
we
I-
think that you would fit these roles well.
Could be nice to
There's
get in
room
on
for an
it.
orchard.
Oh, really? Got some
Oh,
land.
there's a lot of
Which,
room.
And your experience in farming could help us a lot.
Yeah.
is the emissary the only one that's currently open? And I guess the magister.
Emissary and magister.
But doesn't
Can
it
two
take,
people
like-
fill a magister?
No.
Okay. Can Barnabas be the magister? He's a wizard.
Sure. I mean, he hasn't. I guess you could kind of try to promote him up.
Just like we need someone to teach magic, and he's like, I know magic. I
Right
know
now, it's been
magic.
filled by staff.
Yeah.
You
Right.
have the ability to fill something with staff, which is nice.
Oh, that's right.
But we can kind of talk about Kingdom Turns. All right. Anything else? Then I want to kind of do two last things.
Arthur, in training with the hobgoblins, I think
Ooh.
has some of their aspects of warfare have rubbed off on him. And you're noticing as he's training that he's beginning to develop, like he's getting a lot more muscular, a lot bigger.
Okay.
And he likes to sort of use an intimidation of his size all of a
Okay.
sudden.
Oh.
That's dope.
All right. So here's kind of the two things. So let's shift into anything from leveling up you haven't talked about that you want to hit. Now we're just sort of like directly talking to camera, level ups. What's new? What's cool? What have you done?
I retrained something I took at 5th. Cooperative nature sounds cool, but it's just nothing that I really used.
Sure.
Mm.
So I went to Die Hard instead.
You're mostly getting aided.
And that fits better because of the amount of times we've almost died. I felt like Die Hard
Mhm.
works.
Die Hard's useful.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
extra level of dying is
For
really
sure.
nice.
Yep.
Anyone else? Anything? So Scout, talk to us a little bit about Scout, Jared,
Yeah.
for our
Yeah,
listeners.
Scout. I got a cool thing called a Rebels map.
Ooh.
It triggers it, roll initiative. The rebellions require an intricate knowledge of one's surroundings because you might need to escape at any moment. You remember the locations of escape routes, ambush spots, and cover from a scouting expedition or previous visits to that area. Roll a
Ooh.
d20 at any point during the subsequent combat. You can substitute the result of this roll instead of rolling a d20 on one deception check to create a diversion or on one stealth tie.
That's pretty cool.
Especially given how much we revisit different areas in this
Yeah, yeah.
campaign. That's super cool.
And then I just got Analyze Weakness, which is a rogue one, which just lets me double my sneak attack damage, basically,
Oh,
on
shit.
creatures, which is pretty dope.
Yeah, Scout seems cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Level 6 is a class feat level for folks, right?
I
And
took
so-
Advanced
Yes.
Bloodline,
Ooh.
and as an Earth Elementalist, I have a 10-foot burrow speed now.
Seriously?
Cool.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
How do you imagine that manifests?
Jonas Burrow.
Yeah, that'll just say that. Bat! And it's not, well, I mean, it's a 2-action cast. It's a spell. It's a focus spell.
Okay. I just
So-
meant, like, you just dig
yeah.
really fast.
No, it's called Elemental Motion,
Sure.
and the duration is 1 minute. I call upon my element to propel me, improving your speed depending on your element. The spell's elemental trait. For Earth, I gain a burrow speed of 10 feet. This lasts 10 minutes.
So you're just like,
At 6th
power
level,
push
this
yourself.
will become a 20-foot speed, and then at 9th level, or 9th rank, excuse me,
Yep.
be a 30-foot burrow speed.
I'm imagining this to be like
Mhm.
earthbending from
100%.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
if you
Hell
jingle
yeah.
your bracelet, does it add 10 to that?
I don't see why not.
Jingle, jingle, burrow
Mhm.
quicker.
That's good stuff.
Trent, what did you actually get at 6th level for champion and for your...
So because I've rebuilt Arthur,
Uh-huh.
there's like a lot of changes generally.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the class feat was, but because we have free archetype, this
Yeah.
was a free archetype feat.
Yeah.
He took snap out of it,
Ooh.
which is from the martial dedication, that if an ally is affected by a mental effect, on my turn I can spend an action and have them re-roll
Oh, wow.
a will save with a +1 circumstance bonus.
Wow, that's dope.
Mhm.
Yeah, really cool.
That's awesome.
And obviously, regardless of the result, the ally is temporarily immune to the same thing for 10 minutes. Like you can't just
Cool.
keep using it.
Yeah. Anyone else? Lauren, anything in particular from 6th level?
The only other one, because I talked about predictive purchase and treat
Yeah.
condition, but the funny one is I imagine going back and forth between her farm and the kingdom. She's like hauling barrels of cider onto carts and off. And so she
Uh-huh.
took the hefty hauler skill feat.
Yes.
Nice.
Also to help with the predictive purchase
Yeah.
because
Sure.
I was already really close to encumbered. I am not strong at all. And so she's a little bit stronger than you give her credit for.
Giving you
All
a-
right.
what is it called? A spacious pouch would be
Yeah.
also helpful.
That would also be
You
great.
need a few of those.
We should probably buy one.
We should probably buy one.
So, kind of last things. We
Wait, I
kind of.
do have one more thing.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
We haven't really said it out loud,
I've been waiting for you to say it out loud.
Okay.
but I did take the Were Creature dedication
Oh!
at this level.
Amazing.
Hell yeah. So
I
that's
was
even
worried you changed your mind.
Nope.
So, okay, tell me what's actually going on here out of, meta, what's
So-
going on?
a werewolf. Actually, fuck it. You guys take it.
A werewolf came into town and was slaughtering some fools. We went after it and it fucked us up.
Yeah.
Actually, it didn't fuck Nikolai up.
It fucked them up.
it
Nikolai was back
one-shot
there
me.
shooting arrows like, you guys are all
Yeah.
infected now. So then we had to go gather some stuff for Elga and she cured the curse, but it failed when she tried to do it on Lucky.
Well,
So Lucky had to go back the next day
Yeah.
and he was like, I'll go take care of it myself, and came back and said, we're all good.
Oh,
And
he
wow.
kind of told Elga, like, can you help me
Yeah, like
Control it.
kind of
control
it.
this?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's why he's been spending time with Elga.
But we don't know
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, but we're like,
Yeah.
he just likes Elga. I don't know. Maybe he's got a
I
problem
mean,
with Jonas.
my read on it was
Turf war.
Maybe
he's
they're
fine.
a
Turf war.
Yeah.
Maybe they're a thruple. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Actually, I
I
hope you guys are.
Yeah.
I do know what class feat I took now
Okay.
at 6th level. Attack of opportunity.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very useful one that you've regretted not having so many times.
Well, it's 6th level.
Yeah, it's hard to get
So,
if you're not
yeah.
a fighter.
Yeah.
All right.
Blade Ally gives you access to that at 6th level, or you took that from.
No, That's a
Marshall.
champion.
It's a champion class feat.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
6th level. Okay, sweet.
Yep.
So I want to jump to
Might as well jump.
maybe a dinner you're all having. It's maybe not not a state affair, but there's a moment that you're kind of all together eating. You're all sitting down one evening. You get information from one of the staff that there's an official emissary from you. They don't say much, but they say that they're from a guild that's sort of on the up and up, known as the Embeth Travelers. And that, as a matter of fact, the guild master himself, one Yamel Huiser, is here attempting an audience with the group. Any of you who want to can attempt a society or a hunting lore
Yeah, I'll do that.
to see.
I have society.
And I'll let you go ahead and just roll this. I'm not going to bother with secret checks on this.
Nice.
Society or hunting lore to recall
28
knowledge.
hunting lore.
24 society.
So you,
21 society.
Nicola, you critically succeed.
Yeah, I rolled a 19.
You've heard of this Hunters Guild. It acts as guides and teachers who share their reverence for the natural world and its bounty. They've been known at times to hire out to governments to stamp out bandits and monsters, but mostly they're known for expertise in hunting, tracking, and woodland survival. You've also even heard of this Yamel, the leader of the Embeth Travelers. The reputation he has is one for fairness and compassion for common folk, but very little patience for governmental inefficiency or corruption. Now, you've heard that he is here in person himself. His guild is not a large one, but one that's well respected. He's here himself in person. And
What's the guild called?
the Embeth Travelers.
Does he want to speak to us?
He, in fact, would like to speak with you.
All right. I'll let everybody else know what I know and who wants to come with me.
He comes in and bows, introduces himself. Good evening. I am Yana Huiser of the Embeth Travelers, and I come bearing for you this invitation. He kind of unrolls it and prepares to read it before he gives it to you. Esteemed defenders of the people and newer regents of this stolen land. As civilization comes to these wilds, you have distinguished yourselves in seeing to the safety of your people, yet much danger still remains. I invite you to attend with myself and my organization a humble hunting trip to a particularly monster-infested reach on the banks of the Gurin River 3 days hence. On the eve of the hunt, we shall all meet for a night of friendship, fellowship, and revelry in an old hunting lodge we have recently rebuilt 24 miles upriver to the east from Tuskwater Lake on the Gudrun. As your kingdom continues its growth, integrating with your neighbors on a peaceful terms is important. My hope is that this event will not only give us a chance to know you, but will give you a chance to know the others I have invited on the stolen lands, to make this a fruitful hunt and a safer land for all of us. He then hands it over and you see it signed at the bottom, yours in good trust, Grand Ranger Yamal Huiser.
Feels a little bit like a trap, but
Cool
okay.
title. Grand Ranger.
Mm.
Is there like a particular thing they're hunting, or is this like a hunt like, oh, we're just going after like a boar or an elk or like whatever we happen to come across?
There are several...
Sorry, not an elk.
Not an elk.
They're like, we're
We're going
we're
elk hunting.
specifically looking for an elk.
Yep, I'm going to have to tell you guys not to do that.
There are several dangerous creatures there, but some that have risen to a level of difficulty that we would prefer to not handle entirely on our own. It is a hunting trip, one that I believe we can as a group handle for sure. Others have sent representatives, but I wish to invite you, as it is so close to your nation's borders, to invite you into our fellowship, not as members unless you should wish to be, but as a chance to meet others in this attempt to quell these beasts who have been fighting and ranging outside of their normal habitats, whose behaviors have become more aggressive than we are used to.
Abnormal behaviors. Well, that sounds like a cryptid.
I do not think it is that cryptic. No,
It's okay. I think there's a language barrier. It's okay. He doesn't get it.
I never quite understand.
So, am I to understand that you would like to come with us on this hunt?
Sure.
Yeah, if he's good, I'm good. I wouldn't come alone, but I'll come with him.
Excellent. Well, and he'll provide you with instructions. I look forward to seeing you 3 days from now on the eve of the hunt at our lodge. Just follow the river.
I ran this adventure for you guys one time where I invited you to a dinner before a hunt.
Yeah, it was no
I
big
tried
deal.
to murder you all.
We just don't eat the food.
That's true.
It was so good.
Well, I think there, as our episode comes to a close. Trent, you have something you wanted to say?
There's probably like some swinging doors, and the swinging doors open, and a skeleton, a kobold skeleton,
Grief.
walks on in and goes, "Eh, howdy folks, Fib's the name, but I ain't no liar." Ha ha!
Oh.
The fuck?
What?
And
What?
we'll cut away from there to something else.
What's up, guys?
Oh, man.
Back again so soon.
I
I'm
can't
back again
handle
so
all this
soon.
end of episode.
All right.
End of an era.
So we fade to black on Fib,
Yeah.
the skeleton, and probably a lot of shocked expressions around the table. From where we fade to black, there's like spots of light that slowly start to appear and kind of turns the blackness into the night sky. And as we zoom out, we see the tall outline of a tower looming over a lake. And as we go, we see that a small vessel is crossing the lake, headed towards the tower, carrying 2 hooded passengers. The craft is gliding seamlessly, although neither of the passengers seem to be rowing. Eventually, they arrive at the tower and begin working their way up the path into the tower itself, and we follow them as they enter the main room and are immediately beset upon by a greenish glow, which we can start to recognize as the will-o-wisp that nearly killed our heroes over a year ago in this very spot. Instead of a nail-biting battle, though, in this case, we see the taller of the 2 figures raise their hands and a staff and immediately just destroy the wisp, like with one swoop, one action. We follow these 2 figures as they work through the rooms of the tower, and we now recognize the places. They leave a silver coin as a tribute and offering. They walk through this area where they see these scorch marks that are this evidence of an old and epic and ancient battle that at some point occurred. And we notice that they're kind of like both moving very confidently, even though we know that this place like came with this very unsettled, like bad vibes feeling when the main party was there so long ago. As we follow them, they arrive at a massive stone door and they look around trying to glean whatever information they can. Eventually, the smaller figure reaches up and removes their hood, revealing a feathered face and a long beak.
This is very strange indeed, my friend.
The taller figure nods, uncharacteristically quiet, looking around the strange, unnerving place.
The lady will want to know about this. It seems many threads will be pulling her eye to this region. For better or for worse, we should contact her.
The Tango reaches into his robes and pulls out a small talisman that appears to be a beaked effigy.
How right you are, my feathered friend. Her skills will be most necessary to the strange happenings around here. Though I think it should be me to make contact. To be honest, I think you annoy her a bit.
The bird's eyes roll as he hands over the charm and continues looking around the strange space as his companion walks away and begins speaking into the talisman, his horribly grating voice echoing off the walls.
Hello? Is this thing on? Can you hear me? Hear me!
Across the world, and maybe even across the plains, we close in on a lone figure sitting cross-legged in a small stone room, the twin talisman sitting on the ground nearby, the message just delivered. Slowly, dark eyes open and looked towards the River Kingdoms.
Tune in next week to find out more.
Amazing.
Nice.
I love it.
to Die podcast is a production of Live to Die Gaming. Follow us on social media at Live to Die Pod. Want to support us? Check us out at patreon.com/live to die pod. Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for more.